Welcome everyone. This is Himanshi. I hope you all are well. This is a video series for a crash course in location data intelligence for beginners. This video will cover a brief introduction to what is location data and how location data is collected most commonly. We will look at a sample dataset from Twitter and try to explore that by performing several exercises related to geolocation analysis. I hope you guys enjoy this video series. Let's get started. So, what is location data? Some devices collect geographical information of where the device is physically located uh, at various moments in time. This data consists of a latitude and a longitude along with the timestamp at that instance. This is also associated with a time zone. The time zone can vary depending on how the device is configured. Usually, the local time zone is considered as default. A device is usually associated with one individual whose location is being tracked. Uh, and that individual's personal information, like demographics, for example, his age or gender or other attributes, may or may not be known along with the location data. These are some devices that collect location data. We all use cell phones and most of us use smartwatches. Uh, these are the two most common sets of devices which collect location data. Another example is the GPS tracker device, which can be installed in a moving vehicle, such as a car or a truck. The mail delivery services like USPS, for example, have such devices installed, and we are able to track our mail through these devices itself. Those devices that we saw in the previous slides, they cannot identify the location by itself independently. Uh, Hence, it takes the help of other hardware devices to approximate its own location. There are some hardware devices that help to collect location data. The GPS device receiver connects to satellites to compute an approximate location. It needs a minimum of 3 signals for trilateration. This method is done using distances and it computes the location at approximately 4.9 meter radius of accuracy. The second method is Wi-Fi or beacons, another set of hardware that can be used to collect location data. Using those devices is Wi-Fi beacons. Um, these devices are mostly installed inside buildings which have stable and fixed boundaries. Just like satellites, 3 beacons are required for computation of location. This is highly accurate as there is a fixed set of boundaries since they are not really mobile. Their accuracy is up to zero point 0.5 meters. Again, this is because they have a fixed set of boundaries and they are not moving along any other areas. The third type of hardware devices is cellular towers. This method is usually used by cellular companies. In this method, 3 cellular towers are required to triangulate and compute location. This method uses angles as compared to distances, which was used previously by the GPS satellites, and this method gives an accuracy of about 1.4 kilometers. It is not as much as the GPS satellites because the cell phones keep moving and it's the hence the less accuracy. Now let's see who collects location data. Uh, Now that we know how we collect how the location data is collected, it is also important to talk about some organizations who collect location data and for what possible reasons. Um, First, the location-based services, for example, Foursquare or Google Maps, collect this kind of data. Even cellular companies like T-Mobile and AT&T and even Sprint and other cellular companies also collect data. Um, Cell phone operating systems like Android or Apple OS also collect location-based data. Now, now that we know who collects location data, let's see how do they use it. Why do they collect the location data, and what exactly are the applications that they are using it for? First, a big application of location data is movement analysis. Things like which places are most frequently visited by people can be analyzed and found out. Even traffic maps and traffic speed can be computed using location data of a mass of people. Second application is the origin destination studies. Analysis like from where and to where people travel can be done, and this can be used to understand where to position public transit routes or stations, like even bus stops. Um, an example of using this geolocation data on the business side is for using it for targeted marketing for advertisements based on location. For example, if someone is passing through a store, they will see ads of that store, or even and using those ads, people might just go inside the store. And even a simple report of how many people pass through the store and how many actually enter the store can be used by the management. We know the applications of geolocation data is a lot, but there are certain ethics surrounding the use of it as it deals with personal data. Most times the data is aggregated to perform analysis, for example, in ocean destination maps. For those of you who are not familiar with aggregated data, it is the data which is computed using summary statistics of individual data. For example, a count of the number of people near the White House at a particular instance as compared to information about which individuals are at the White House is aggregated data as compared to individual data. However, sometimes some research is performed on individual behaviors about where a person is at a given point in time. This is personal data and it is a cause of concern because you probably don't want someone you don't know to know where you exactly are at any point of time. We know there are a lot of ethical concerns revolving around geolocation data. Let's see how people get around these ethics. Whenever we sign up for a service, we agree to the terms of data use for that service. However, use of data beyond the terms of service which have been agreed upon is unethical. For example, your geolocation shared with a tweet is used by researchers over time to figure out where you approximately live. Yes, that's true. We will see an example of this in this video series. Some data aggregator companies buy data from certain companies and sell this data to third parties in exchange for money or marketing purposes. You may have given your permission to collect this data, but you did not give your permission to sell it to some other company because you don't know how this third company will use this geolocation data. Now that we have all of this information, what we would like to encourage you guys to do is to keep these points in mind whenever you're developing an application that needs to collect data. You should practice the following. To avoid conflicts, be clear about not only what type of data you will be collecting, but also about how you will be using it. For example, if you plan to sell the data to vendors, be sure to specify which vendors you want to sell it to and and how those vendors are going to be using that data. If someone wants to opt out of your application, there should be a big button in the UI to spot and get out of it, because there are times when people want to stop using a service but they just don't know how to get out of it. So maybe put a big red button to make it easier for the user to get out of your application. Um, the third one is that you should also think of the implications of a data breach. What would happen if there is an attack on the security of your system? Data encryption should be practiced in such a case because sensitive data such as SSN or telephone numbers, if leaked, can be very dangerous. That was the introduction of what location data is. Now we will learn how exactly location data is used by doing a series of practical exercises and demonstrations over the next series of videos. So this is just an organization of how the videos would be created. The first block uh, will be consisting of the applications and the code that you would need to download, as well as the data set that I have prepared for this course. Since I will be practically demonstrating the analysis as we proceed with the course, I would like you all to install those applications beforehand. In block 2, we will take a look at the dataset and how it was extracted from its raw form. Then we will proceed ahead and try to play with this dataset by manipulating it and deriving some other useful columns for analysis. Once we know the data better, we will visualize it on QGIS and create a video to see how this data changes with time by actually getting a hands on the tool in block 3. In block 4, we will dig deeper into the data and try to find out the home and work locations for the users that are a part of the data set that is created for this course. I hope you continue to work with me through this video series and find it interesting by learning something new. So this is an expansion of what the first block would contain. In this block, we will learn how to set up the tools that we need for this workshop, which include Anaconda and QGIS. I will not go over the step-by-step tutorial for the installation. However, a comprehensive external link will be provided that will serve as a guide. We will then download the libraries that we need for proceeding with this workshop. After that is done, we will peek into the data and we will be using that data for the workshop to understand it better. In the second block, we will see how a tweet looks like just after it is extracted from the Twitter API. This is just for information and for you to know how data exists and what other information exists within that tweet. We will not use other components of the tweet for this workshop, but it is for you to explore. We will also see the information that can be derived from the temporal datetime data. In the third block, we will understand our data better by using the QGIS tool. We will be able to see how the data is changing with respect to time. Since our data set is huge with a lot of users, we will limit our visualization to just one user for simplicity. We will see a series of steps which will enable us to select this one interesting user. Then we will cover the basics of QGIS by actually using the tool, and in the end, we will use a plugin to create an animation of our time series data. In the last block, we will learn how to build a spatiotemporal profile of any location, which is denoted by a set of coordinates. We will also see how to get more information about the point indicated by a set of coordinates, that is, how to translate that into location. From this data, we will try to find out the home and work locations for the Twitter users. Lastly, we will look at certain characteristics which are linked with the trip, for example, average distance and average time. So let's start with the video series. I hope you guys enjoy it. I will see you guys in the first video of Doc 1. Stay tuned. Thank you.